West Blue is important. Important with a capital I. I made an entire video discussing this a number of months back. Remember that while the sun rises in the east, it sets in the west? But there was so much to discuss that there was something huge I left out. And that was God Valley and how it's almost certainly in West Blue. Hello, humans of the world. I'm Dawn of the World. Welcome aboard. We are going to talk about God Valley and West Blue today, but before we get too deep into that, don't forget to drop a follow. Drop a hollow, is this bleach? And whack that notification bell so you can stay updated for future shenanigans. Since my last video adjacent to this subject, fandom-wide speculations concerning the West Blue have grown, but not because of my video. I will put chapter marks in here, so feel free to skip ahead. But yeah, speculations are spreading. In fact, as I sit here presenting this, someone named QueenFlowers91 over on Reddit has made her own theory post about this exact topic. Though in her post, she goes into a whole bunch of detail about Crocodile, who's from West Blue. We're not going to be doing that today. What we are going to be doing though is taking a different route to the same location, that being God Valley in West Blue. I will link Queen Flower's post down below though if any of you are interested. But since we last covered the topic, more people are talking about West Blue. Not a lot of people are talking about it, but more. A deeper look on Reddit shows us that more people have jumped aboard the C train to West Blue, and this has happened post-film Red with various people suggesting that God Valley could be there. I just want to address this so it's clear that I'm not stealing anybody's theory. If you've been following me for long enough, you know that I don't shut up about West Blue since even before Film Red, and that I've been threatening to release another West Blue video for the past week. I mean, look at it this way, when people are presented with the same evidence, some of them are probably going to come to the same conclusions, and they're going to do this independently of each other. And since my last West Blue video, and since the release of Film Red, more people are starting to notice the West Blue crumbs because they are building up. Marco, One Piece theorist, also released a recent video after having seen Film Red, which was before I got to see it, so I had to wait to be able to watch his video. But in his video, he actually brings up a lot of the points that I made in my West Blue video. He even mentions the same Chopper and Kano country connection that I talked about, and not only that, I've since discovered that he did a whole video about that connection 6 years ago. I've never seen anybody else talk about that, but the fact that he and I noticed the same thing, it's gotta mean something. I'll link his video below also. With all of that addressed, let's head west. So, Film Red happened, spoilers for this next part by the way, and Shanks happened. The basis for all of the West Blue God Valley theories that are popping up at the moment. So, of course, at the end of the film, we get a flashback of sorts of Shanks and the redhead pirates discovering Uta as a baby. She's inside a treasure chest because that's a logical place to put an infant. It's also more of a common place to put an infant than you would think, as we get half a crumb of a flashback of Shanks being discovered by the Roger pirates. While this isn't elaborated upon in the film, in the accompanying volume 4 billion, it's confirmed that Shanks, much like his daughter, was found inside a treasure chest, and that this treasure chest seems to have been recovered at God Valley. Now this starts ringing discrepancy bells to those who remember. Shanks is said to have been born in West Blue. We even had this panel a long time ago of him sharing sake from his hometown with Whitebeard, where he says it's from West Blue, which I mentioned before gives me, oh, I'm from North Blue, didn't I tell you vibes. So now people are starting to come to this conclusion that, wait, if Shanks was born in West Blue, he was found in God Valley, could God Valley have been in West Blue? Well, I don't believe the sea on which God Valley was located is ever actually specified. We all just assume that everything's in the New World these days. All we know is that an incident took place there 38 years ago, wherein Garp and Roger had to team up against Rocksteady Zebek. For some reason, there were also world nobles and slaves present, leading some people to believe that Shanks was the charge of one of those groups, specifically the former of the two, as he seems to have a significant surname, but we're not going to get into that in this video. Shit. And we know that the island disappeared without a trace, no longer even appearing on the world maps, which leads many to believe that this done got diluted. And while that is very plausible, I don't love it just because I want to go there one day and we can't go there if it's gone. And that's kind of the main reason why it's starting to become more believed that God Valley could be in West Blue, but I'd like to elaborate on this and sprinkle in some of my own points. So let's talk namesakes. I was brainstorming a while ago and I thought, God Valley, Valley of the Gods. Isn't that the name of a real life place? Isn't that in Egypt? And yes, Valley of the Gods is a real life place, but it's not in Egypt. I was thinking of Valley of the Kings. Valley of the Gods is located in the US state of Utah in the American Southwest, as in the Wild Wild West, where parts of West Blue seem to have drawn inspiration. Valley of the Gods is located just north of Monument Valley, you know, from Steel Ball Run, and it looks like this. Anyway, as we can see, there's a bit of a similarity going on here. Given such a similarity in names and appearance, I thought, surely I can't be the first to notice, and I had a look, and sure enough, Magic Girl Patty on Reddit has also made this connection a year ago. Though not through a West Blue lens, just through a "this is inspired by that" lens. There was also an interesting comment left here by Mr_Necro that similarly named and presenting Garden of the Gods in Colorado is held as a sacred neutral meeting ground by Native American people, and he ponders if God Valley had been something similar. Which, in that case, things obviously went south, and now there's no more neutral territory. It's interesting as well that the state in which Valley of the Gods stands is the state of Utah. In fact, just the other week, I saw somebody trying to make a connection between Utah and Utah State, and at the time I thought that's stupid. She's not named after a American state, she's named after the Japanese word of song or to sing. But now I realize that Utah is a Wild West state in which Valley of the Gods resides, as in the very possible namesake for God Valley, in which Shanks from West Blue was found, and that Shanks later became the father of Utah. So now I'm like, yeah, maybe there is something there, you know? Stuff can be two things. No, you're not going anywhere. Now I'll just touch on this one because I haven't done heaps of research, but I'd still like to acknowledge it. There is a second place that God Valley resembles, and this has been talked about by various different people over the years, but I'd like to briefly touch on it and explore it as well. God Valley looks a lot like the Emerald City from the 1939 film The Wizard of Oz. This is fairly significant because if you recall from the Gyre arc, Bellamy name drops a place called the Emerald City alongside the City of Gold and the One Piece when he's listing places that he believes are made up. And well, he was already wrong about two of those three. So it's a safe bet to make that the Emerald City exists somewhere out there. Or at the very least, it did exist in the case it was Lelouched. In The Wizard of Oz, the people live in constant terror of an entity known as the Wicked Witch of the West. And I admit this point is a lot less solid than my previous one, I just want to touch on it and acknowledge it for now. It might be nothing. Maybe I'll expand on it more in the future if we get more information or if a sudden brainwave comes to me. What I will say though is that the poneglyphs are likely inspired by a real world artifact called the Emerald Tablet. The Emerald Tablet is an ancient cryptic text, and references to it can be found in texts that go back over 1,000 years. If you've heard that phrase, "as above, so below," it's from that. It's said to contain secret knowledge of ancient alchemic technology, some even suggesting that it contains the secrets of the universe. The text is so esoteric that only a few people can truly understand and comprehend it. One legend even suggests that it was created by the Egyptian god Thoth, who divided all of his knowledge onto 40 emerald plates and scattered them throughout the world. And if there's going to be a specifically Emerald Tablet / poneglyph in One Piece, it's probably gonna be somewhere called the Emerald City. Unless the Emerald City was Lelouched. Then it'd be at the bottom of the sea, but still intact as poneglyphs are indestructible, or maybe someone's fished it out and taken it elsewhere. And just quickly before I close, if you're not caught up with the manga, skip this part. We got a glimpse into West Blue in chapter 1066, of course in that flashback scene between Vegapunk and Dragon, which of course is in Ohara after the Buster Call. This whole scene actually addresses some of what I brought up in my last video. Ohara is relevant again, the Oharan books are relevant. But I'm inclined to believe that Ohara, and therefore the West Blue, is actually quite a close trip from Elbaf. It's just that pesky little calm belt that's in the way. I don't have a doubt in my mind that when Harajin's crew came to collect the books from Ohara, they would have gotten to and from there by traversing the calm belt. Traveling to and from the Blues via the calm belt is an activity that has been mentioned various times throughout the series, and it can be done far less perilously when one coats the keel of their ship in sea stone to detract the Sea Kings. It seems kind of weird to me that Oda would put as much emphasis as he has on being able to leave the Grand Line via the calm belts if it's not going to be utilized for the Straw Hats in the future. Especially when Kobe tells us about the whole sea stone keel coating thing just before we get the Sunny and Frankie. And on that note, let's also keep in mind that the Straw Hats just came from from Wino Country, which is where Seastone is from, and Frankie spent about a week or so off screen at the end there where he was repairing and upgrading the Sunny. Also, from where we currently are at Egghead Island, it's possible we'll go to Elbaf soon, and we're pretty close to the calm belt that borders West Blue, so if there's a time for it, it might be approaching. Anyway, I didn't mention God Valley in my last West Blue video because while I did consider it, I was actually a bit more compelled by some of the other points that I made at the time. And believe it or not, while I was a firm believer in West Blue at the time, I didn't have quite the Vice-like level of belief that I have it in now. That being said, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I have been wrong before, and there's nothing wrong with being wrong. These theories are just a bit of fun. Regardless, I am pretty convinced now that God Valley is in West Blue. Shout out to Komogalis here for big braining while I myself wasn't fully convinced yet. However, times have changed. I'm now more convinced about West Blue's importance than ever before, and I'm doubling down. West Blue is imperatively important, and God Valley was there. Where East Blue is the dawn, West Blue was the dusk. You know, between my theory on Brooke's homeland, which is in West Blue, and my general thoughts on West Blue is kind of one of the inspirations that led me to making this channel in the first place. The more you know. And while Marco One Piece Theorist did end his recent video on this note as well, I've also kind of contemplated it on my own independently, but him saying this at the end of his video has kind of emboldened me to say it as well. Maybe the One Piece is also somehow in West Blue, or at the very least a vital key or part to it is there, but maybe that's for another video. Well, let me know you guys' thoughts. I hope you had as much fun watching this as I did putting it together. I'm Dawn of the World, and I will see you next time. Later, guys. I'm doing a West Blue video, by the way. That's what's with the hat.